Hello, baby yum-yummers. I am Rianette, Leibowitz, managing editor at this fantastic publication. And thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I am joined by the formidable Kath Megaw, who is a clinical pediatric dietitian and founder of Nutripaeds. Now, Kath is no stranger to BabyYumYum and our family because Kath has been part of the BabyYumYum.com experts team for a very long time. So you must have read her articles or seen her taking part in one of the webinars and so much more. Kath is outspoken about the importance of preparing for pregnancy. And today we're going to put the spotlight not only on what to do while you're pregnant and afterwards, but also in the preparation phase. So Kath, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this chat.
Me too. And I know I'm going to learn a lot from you, and I'm sure our BabyYumYum community will too. And just so that we all know, where are you joining us from today?
I'm from Cape Town and we've got gorgeous weather. It's like a perfect summer day in Cape Town.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for making me even more jealous. Sitting here in Johannesburg, we are melting away at the moment on this side, but thanks to some thunderstorms, we get there. So, Kath, let's jump right into it. We're going to talk about 3 pillars of the pregnancy journey. The first part is going to be about preparing for pregnancy, then while you are pregnant, and on that fascinating, a bit scary, and the journey that really has so many thousands of questions. And then afterwards, after the birth, what do you do to keep yourself healthy? But let's start with nutrition in preparing for pregnancy, pre-pregnancy. Why is pre-pregnancy nutrition so critical? And what should women focus on before conceiving?
So yeah, that's such a great question. And I think over the years, and especially the last decade, it's really come into the spotlight that it's not just after the baby's born that's important for the baby's health, but it's during pregnancy and, as you say, before. And I think it is so critical because you're setting your body up as kind of the incubator for this little human being. And so by making sure you've got some very key nutrients on board, one of them being folic acid, which is so important because that is critical in the first stage, those first 3 months of pregnancy. And we know that if you have it on board even before, it just sets you up really for good success. And also just for your body and your mindset, just to get that around into that space and zone of I'm going to be a mother and I'm going to start the nurturing journey, and also making sure your health, looking at your habits, your nutritional habits. Whether you drink a lot of alcohol, then it would be a good time to start weaning down from that. Are you taking supplements? What supplements are you going to look at taking? So just getting yourself prepared for the journey ahead. And then your dietary habits, your exercise habits are also really important to assess at this stage. So it's nice just to take a moment before you fall pregnant, just to determine what about my health and my physical well-being do I want to add to, improve, change, adapt, and keep. And there might be some really good healthy habits that you want to keep as well. But it's nice to just be mindful of that time.
And when you say exercise, Kath, does it mean if you're not exercising, you should maybe start becoming more active? And if you are very active, does it mean you need to reduce some of it?
So that's also a brilliant question, because what we do know is during pregnancy, you can continue, especially in your first 2 trimesters, with your level of exercise that you were doing pre-pregnancy. So it would be great to start a process before you fall pregnant so that your body gets used to it and adjusts to it. If you're an extreme athlete, you might need to reconsider the level of training. However, there's been many successful pregnancies of extreme athletes, so it's definitely not doable. But if that is your intention and you're training and you're quite an intense marathon runner, you need to make your coach aware and just be aware of just giving your body that extra sustenance and extra nutrition.
Yeah. Yes, I can imagine. And but the moment you make that switch, right, you're going to be more aware. So that is very interesting. Thank you. Are there any common pre-pregnancy nutrition myths that you frequently encounter and wish to dispel?
One of the myths is that if you are not like 100% perfect with your diet, that you won't be able to fall pregnant or your baby's going to be unhealthy. So I think we also need to be kind to the audience out there, because, you know, it's a big deal shifting and changing your diet. So just making small incremental changes are going to just make you healthy, and inevitably the outcome with your baby will be healthier. So I think you need to look at what you want to change and adjust, and then slowly take it step by step. Because if you go online, you might find that you end up feeling so overwhelmed by all the information that you think, I can't achieve that, so you don't even start, because
Yes.
it just feels like a goal you can't reach. But you can make one change, and that one change will lead to another change, and will lead to another change.
Thank you for that, Kath. Yeah, you're right. I think there's a lot of pressure being put on women and then also on ourselves. I think that's your message in terms of being kind towards ourselves is so important. So how can supplements like BabyYumYum Plus support women who are preparing for pregnancy? Because very often you think, oh, the moment you've done the test and you've got that positive result, then you start. But how about supplements before?
So what, like I mentioned earlier on, if you are taking folic acid, we know that that is very protective from neural tube defects, which is where the spine doesn't fuse. And so it is really critical, because that development happens in those first 3 months. So all the supplements that you are going to be supporting your body with during pregnancy, if you started before pregnancy, you are just giving yourself that lift, that extra added boost into a journey, while you're also making potential changes to your diet.
Yeah.
So it also then will fill the gaps, even though maybe your requirements aren't as high yet as they will become. You are filling gaps during the changeover, and just making yourself the healthiest that you can be, also to conceive, because we also know that a lot of infertility issues can be addressed often with just correcting deficiencies in the space of minerals and those sort of things. So it will just kind of give you a really good protection as you go into this journey.
Yes, yes. It makes perfect sense. So now we've prepared for pregnancy. We get the amazing news. It's a positive test result. And now let's talk about nutrition during pregnancy. So pregnancy brings so many cravings and aversions. And I'm sure whoever's listening might actually like either laugh or cry, because we know it can have different effects on all of us. So how can women ensure that they are still meeting their nutritional needs despite these challenges and navigating morning sickness?
Yeah, so morning sickness, which is more common in your first 3 months, can happen really any time of day. The more common, and why it got its name, morning sickness, is often that is when our blood sugar is at its lowest. And we do know that morning sickness tends to be related to a drop in our blood sugar. So we do recommend regular intake of food throughout the day. Is very helpful just for managing those blood sugar moments and blood sugar dips. And so making sure that you are eating a little bit of all the different food groups that you feel you can kind of manage will be helpful. We do tend to find women are more drawn to more carbohydrates and a bit more savory type foods. If morning sickness is definitely a bit more triggered if you're eating very high fat foods, or you are eating something that is maybe too sweet, also tends to potentially trigger it. And obviously, if you eat lots of sugar, it will spike your blood sugar, but then it will cause a deeper drop, and that can make actually the morning sickness worse. So it's just that fine line between managing regular small little meals, and often just having a few crackers next to the side of your bed, or a little shake that your partner brings you in the morning before you get out of bed might just help you over that like low blood sugar hump in the morning.
And I love what you've said, because it helps us to actually almost reframe the morning sickness. You almost perceive it as something you cannot do anything about. But the way you're explaining it to us is like it's really just managing those levels. And we can do that. Or, well, we can try at least, and
we can try, yeah,
alleviate some of it. So can you explain how the ingredients in supplements like BabyYumYum Plus help fill any nutritional gaps during pregnancy, please, Kath?
So I think one of the things that I love about Prego Mega Plus is that it's got your 3 separate supplements that you can take, which sometimes moms will say to me, oh, I just want to take one pill. And then I explain that actually there's no one pill that can give you the best of these nutrients. And that by separating them, they've done that for a very specific reason. So the omega-3, which is really, really healthy and good for your baby's brain, and for mom's brain. You know, moms often say, I get porridge brain when I was pregnant, and it's really good because omega-3 is the food for our brains and obviously your developing baby's brain. And it becomes really important towards the end of your 2nd trimester and your 3rd trimester, and then into your 4th trimester after birth, for your baby.
All right.
So you want to, but the thing with what people don't realize with the omegas, and specifically the omega-3 group, is that you need to build it up. It's not just a instant that you can kind of fix the deficiency in your body. And let's be honest, a lot of us don't eat the recommended amounts of fatty fish in the week. And even if we did, you know, we're also cautious because of the heavy metals and things like that found in our fish today, which is really sad. So we tend to maybe be a bit more cautious. Fish is also really expensive. And so we might not get, we definitely won't have over the past got enough omega-3s in our system. The majority of people are deficient in omega-3. So it gives your body time to build it up. So by the time your baby really needs it, like I say, towards the end of the 2nd trimester, 3rd trimester and beyond, your body then has sufficient to offer your baby. And we know that the omega-3 levels are adjusted in the placenta and in the breast milk according to your intake. So it's not one of those guaranteed things. There's certain nutrients in breast milk and in your placenta blood that is kind of almost irrelevant of whether you get them in or not. And there are other nutrients that are very directly related to your intake. And omega-3 being one of them. And then your other supplement is your calcium, which is obviously so important for the bones and of both your developing baby, but actually more importantly for mom's bones. That's one of the nutrients your body will find and give to your baby. So your baby generally will get enough calcium. However, your body will suffer if you are not supplementing with calcium or replacing the calcium, because the body's just going to draw it out of your bones and access it and give it to your baby. You won't necessarily then have access to it yourself. So we need to supplement you and protect you as the mom. And then the other one is just your lovely range of your multivitamins and your minerals, and of course iron being one of them as well. And so the reason why they separate that is just that they don't want to keep iron with the same space as the calcium, because calcium can hinder the absorption of iron often. And so that is also why it's really nice that they have separated the supplements in this way. And so it's so worth it and worth taking all 3, and so important to take it. And then obviously your minerals, we've spoken about folic acid, which is a B vitamin. And then we know that magnesium is really important as well for bones. We know that the vitamin Bs in there are good for just your mental health. And that's why I always say to moms, you have to keep taking your supplement post-pregnancy, because you need to restore and keep your mental health going. So we know that that range of vitamins is so important. So yeah, it's critical that you take a supplement that is good and that has got all the micronutrients that you need.
And I'm so glad, Kath, that you mentioned the fact that absorption and the way our bodies absorb all these fantastic, ingredients and, like you say, micronutrients, that we shouldn't underestimate how we take them, how, the combinations and so forth. And in this Prego Mega Plus package, they've already thought of all of that. So at least it's one less thing to worry and think about. And thank you for breaking it down in such a way that we can really understand that it's not only for the baby, but also for a mom. And the mental health part, I'm so glad you touched on that, because, well, I have heard in my own experience, once that baby is born, everyone is so happy and concerned about the baby, and you almost want to just have already established that routine of looking after your mental health through the right supplements, so that it doesn't even become something to worry about later, and that it maybe becomes a pothole for you to step into. So thank you for that. Then just a last question in terms of during pregnancy. What are some of the practical tips for pregnant women to balance a healthy diet with the physical and emotional demands of pregnancy?
So I think the important thing is planning. And I know this is sometimes a bit of a a difficult thing, but it can take away so much stress if you plan. So just take a little moment on your weekend if you're working, or if you've got other kiddies, or you've got a busy life like most of us do these days. Just plan your meals, make sure you get your food, buy the good healthy foods, so that you don't end up last minute quickly going to a takeaway, or quickly just get in just some like a chocolate because you're just hungry and your blood sugar's dropping and you're just desperate, and it's so easy to quickly do that. So we definitely know, if you look at the research, that people who plan their meals for the week generally eat healthier. And that's just because you've had time to get and have access to the food. And then half the battle's won, and then the rest of the week will actually feel quite calm if you can do that. So planning is so important. And then the other thing is try and be as fresh as possible. So as seasonal as possible, because we know seasonal fruits and veggies are the ones that have the highest amount of the nutrients in them. And so eat lots of fresh fruits and veggies, especially as you go into your second and your third trimester and constipation becomes an issue, and you want to keep that good fiber going through your gut. And you also want to make sure that you are just building that gut microbiome, so that your baby has access to it during hopefully labor, if they do it naturally, or post-birth on your skin and through your breast milk. So you want to do that during the stages. So if you plan, you'll make sure that you have the good healthy grains and that you have the seasonal fruits and veggies, and make sure you have your protein. We know that protein keeps that placenta very healthy. So if a placenta doesn't have enough access to protein foods, it can deteriorate a bit quicker. And obviously, a placenta that starts what we call calcifying too early can, bring on early labor. So we really want to try and keep our placenta. And that's just one of the elements. The other factors that might cause a placenta to calcify earlier. So I don't want a mom to feel guilty if that happened to her and it wasn't about that. It can be blood flow, a lot of things. But we do know that protein is also really important. And often moms in their first trimester can't really stomach too much protein. And then they kind of get out of the mode of it. And I really would like to encourage them to try and get back into it. And it can be, very mild proteins, can be like eggs, which is a wonderful protein source. The egg white is phenomenal. And if that's all you can stomach, then that's a good way to get in your protein in different ways. And then obviously your meats, but then you also get your plant proteins like your lentils and your chickpeas and your beans and that, which are good fiber, but also really good protein. So those are kind of the key points: is plan, make sure you have seasonal fruits and vegetables, cook as much as you can from scratch, and then make sure you have good healthy grains and your protein foods.
And I'm glad to hear that there's a variety to choose from, because, especially if you have a certain dietary preference and now all of a sudden you need to introduce new foods. So what I'm hearing you say is that it's actually quite flexible. And am I right in saying that it is advisable to take or to have something to eat before you take your supplements, or does it not really matter?
So that's a really good question. Omega-3 doesn't really matter if it's on an empty tummy. However, it is nice to kind of eat it with a bit of fat. So I often will suggest taking your omega-3 possibly in the evening. Can be quite helpful, because that's often when people have their fattier meal of the day. And then you definitely want to take that multivitamin mineral one, that capsule. That one you want to take after breakfast or lunch. So whatever's going to be your bigger earlier day meal. And remember, vitamin B is a stimulating vitamin, so it's going to make you alert and awake and feel fresh, and you definitely don't want that at night. So you do want to take that earlier on in the day. And the calcium tablet can preferably be at night or in the early part of the morning.
Again, so interesting to learn that you don't need to take a handful at once and feel pressured with, these tablets or the vitamins staring at you and feeling overwhelmed. Nutrition post-pregnancy. After giving birth, a mother's nutritional needs evolve yet again. And what are the key nutrients women should focus on during that time after birth?
Obviously, you're repairing from the birth and recovering from the birth. You're repairing your cells, your blood cells. So you want to replace your iron. Women lose a lot of iron post-birth and during the birth. And then if you breastfeed, there's obviously added demands on your body. But if you weren't able to breastfeed, you still have to replenish your body, and you still are going to need to have energy. So very similar to the ones we spoke about: proteins, good energy, good grains, good seasonal fruits and veggies, and then just make sure that you are getting some good fats as well. It's also really important, because the nice thing with fats post-delivery is that they can offer not necessarily quick, but very sustainable source of energy. Which is really helpful, because you obviously you don't have time to eat this massive meal. But if you make yourself say, for example, a whole grain sandwich, put on some fat, like with avo, and maybe some avo and a bit of chicken, and then at least that will sustain you for a few hours. Because you're busy with your baby and you're breastfeeding and that sort of thing. And then if you're breastfeeding, remember your liquid intake. So important. But if you're not breastfeeding, also remember your liquid intake, because you also need to increase your blood volume. Which will slowly have, you would have lost a lot post-birth. So just to also nourish yourself, so important.
And I like the suggestion you made of the sandwich, because it can't get cold. Because I remember, oh man, you learn to love cold tea. Because hot food it doesn't always work that way, right? Okay. How important are supplements like Prego Mega Plus in the post-pregnancy phase, and especially for breastfeeding mothers?
So I am very much an advocate of continuing your pregnancy supplement post-delivery, whether you are breastfeeding or not. And that is because you need to look after your body now. And so even if you're not breastfeeding, you've got to repair kind of the everything that you went through. You got to kind of restock all the nutrients that you lost during the pregnancy journey and the birth. That's a big deal.
Yes.
And I normally suggest to my moms who are not breastfeeding that they continue their pregnancy supplement for 9 months post-delivery. So just to replenish your body for equal amounts of time that you were pregnant. And then for the moms who are breastfeeding, obviously they're going to continue it for as long as they are breastfeeding. And then for another 9 months after that, again, to replenish their bodies. Because a lot of moms will go into another pregnancy, but they actually haven't replenished what they lost in their previous pregnancies. And I've seen a lot of moms who do breastfeed, they're pregnant, then they breastfeed, then they literally stop breastfeeding, and a month or two later they're pregnant again, which is all fine and well, but are you replenishing your body? So if you are taking a supplement like Prego Mega ongoing through this journey, then if you do fall pregnant quite soon after stopping breastfeeding, you've got it on board for you, which I think is the best that you can do for your body and the next baby if you are planning another baby. Otherwise, if you're not, then just for your body, which is important.
So it's only positives to keep on doing. And I mean,
Absolutely.
whether pregnant or not, we should be thinking about our nutrients and so forth in any case. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. And what are the top tips for new mums trying to regain their energy levels and adapt to the new routine through nutrition?
It's making sure again that you are eating frequently, and plan. So now you've got a baby in the mix of this.
Yeah.
So you might be on maternity leave, so you don't have to navigate your work at this point, but you have to navigate your day. Like you say, you could end up at 5 o'clock still with your pajamas on and cold tea and a whole lot of mugs around the house.
Yes.
And so often having little bits like nutrition, like your little fat bombs or instant nutrition, is often quite helpful. And that might be, your nuts and your seeds, your fruit. Those offer good sources that are quick and easy ways, and maybe scatter it around the house, have a few little nut jars around the house. Obviously, if you've got a toddler, that's maybe not the best idea, but if you don't, and it's your first baby, then just make them accessible. And then if you're breastfeeding, what I always say to moms is always think when you feed the baby, I must eat. So once you've fed your baby, then pop a snack in your mouth as well, and have a glass of water so that you are ready kind of for the next round as you get going. So that is really, really important. Planning and making easy, accessible snacks and foods around the house.
That is
and take help. Take help. People say,
yes,
I want to cook you a meal. Say yes, please. Don't say no, it's okay, I can do it.
No.
So,
there's no reason why you should
struggle.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, Kath, because sometimes we really feel like, oh man, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's, I'll make a quick meal, but it actually does help so much. And you don't really know what to expect, because every baby is different. And yeah, I mean, people want to help and support you. And speaking of that, I mean, there are many people who argue that pregnancy supplements are unnecessary with a balanced diet. So yes, you're getting enough food, you're back on track, you're running, you're doing your exercise. But what's your take on this?
I think the important thing which we've been speaking about all along from the beginning is to really just remember that there's an extra demand that's been put on our bodies now. And the chance that you are going to meet those requirements just with food is highly unlikely. And the nice thing is that this gives you also peace of mind that when you miss out on that nutrient or that nutrient, the gaps are filled, which is so important. And there's a lot of research being done on parents who perceived they were eating a healthy, balanced diet, who are still lacking in nutrients based on the demand post-pregnancy, during pregnancy, during breastfeeding, that there was always a deficit, which has led us to really push the pregnancy supplementation.
That makes 100% sense. And considering, like we just said, the mayhem sometimes, and you get visitors, and life is just busy. And especially if there are other little ones running around needing your attention, then you look after them before ourselves, right? So thank you so much for that, Kath. I think it was really practical advice, and it's doable, which for me is always encouraging. If something sounds doable and easy to manage, considering all the other amazing things that happens around pregnancy, then we can be more open to it. Kath, is there anything else that you want to end off with, and as an encouraging message maybe to our BabyYumYum community?
Well, I think the most important thing of all this is to enjoy the journey. And not every day is going to be a perfect food day, but do your best, be mindful of it. But also remember that nurturing yourself and looking after you will help you look after your baby. So don't forget about you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kath. We really appreciate it. Thanks again for teaching us, for empowering us, and for sharing the love that you have for the work that you do. And may you continue to just be this amazing, amazing force who on a daily basis, like we were discussing before the recording started, like your little baby patients, that you continue to do amazing work. So thank you very, very much. And thank you for watching, BabyYumYum community. We are thankful for you. All of this is for you. So check out Kath's articles and everything else that we've got on our website at www.babyyumyum.com. See you again soon.